The body acts as a messenger to tell us what trauma from our past needs to be integrated and what we need to bring our attention to. As a physiotherapist, I helped people feel at home again inside their body, and in turn, this would change their brain. Neuroplasticity is the ability for neural networks in our brain to change through growth and reorganization, where areas of the brain can be rewired to function differently to how they previously functioned. And recovering from chronic and traumatic stress is especially effective by targeting the body. Just like when I worked as a physiotherapist with patients who'd had a stroke and lost function of their arm, using the body to reshape the brain is something we can do. By targeting the arm and training that, it will in turn reshape and reorganize the neurons in the motor cortex of the brain. And this is the part that's associated with voluntary movement. This is how we start the process of recovery so that function can be restored. As a physiotherapist, we also use practices that targeted the body to change the somatosensory cortex, or the area to do with how we detect sensations. And this can also be a really powerful way to help overcome persistent pain. So we can also target the body to change the neural networks in the brain that have to do with stress modulation and that also cultivate emotional regulation. And this is particularly important if we're continuing to respond today like an event that happened in our past. And that's exactly what the Body Trauma Transformation series is all about. We hear a lot about how trauma is stored in the body, but what does that actually mean? What is the science behind this process? Neuroplasticity can go both ways. So following chronic and traumatic stress, the nervous system learns to respond in this new way, and we can get stuck up in the highs of anxiety and overwhelm, and also down in the lows of shutdown and despair. So nervous system dysregulation happens because of neuroplasticity. It's something that's learned and remembered. It's essential that we first undo the patterns of how we move through the different states of our nervous system. This process is called neuroception, and it normally happens outside of conscious awareness. But through this training, you can learn to bring it into awareness and work with this to unlearn those default patterns. In the first half of this series, we'll be looking in detail at the sensory and memory systems. This will determine how you feel inside your body. So things like how tension might show up in the jaw, how you might feel that ongoing tightness through your chest and shoulders, or how your belly might constrict in certain environments. We'll look at how allostatic load builds. This is the wear and tear that can accumulate in the mind-body system following periods of chronic and traumatic stress. We'll be looking at the process of inflammation, pain, and how this can even lead to illness. And we'll also be looking at how trauma can lead to changes in things like how the gut functions, the immune system, and the endocrine system too. The second half of the training is all about relearning. Whilst it's neuroplasticity that first shifts us to become overprotective, it's also neuroplasticity that shifts us out of these patterns. And with the right training, this is something that we can play an active role in reshaping. We can learn to exist in a new state, one where what's going on inside of us matches appropriately what's going on outside of us in our environment and also in our relationships. The Body Trauma Transformation series includes a number of workshops as well as a pop-up community where you can join like-minded people working towards a common goal to undo old patterns and relearn their potential. Whether we're aware of it or not, our nervous system is always changing and neuroplasticity is always taking place. The empowering part is that you get to play a role in that changing and that shaping process. The body will tell you what trauma from the past needs to be retraced and resolved. And it's through the body that we grow evolve, and reorganise so that we're free to live in the now.